It's July 5th.
We're not recording.
You're all recording. It's July 5th. We're in the City Hall conference room. It doesn't say that on the agenda anymore.
Oh, that's where you're at.
Are you confused?
We'll call to order. I usually read the agenda. We'll call to order the Personal and Finance Committee meeting. We'll start with introductions.
Alderman at Large Kevin Stunek.
Finance Director Connie Hillman.
Jonathan Berlin, City Administrator.
Denise Stingline, Ward 3.
Teresa Burke, Brainerd Dispatch.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
Patrick Wasso, BPU Commissioner.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the Committee. We have 7 items in front of us. The first one is ratify the hiring of 2022 seasonal temporary employees. Chris.
Yes, good evening. So Isabella Samota was hired as a concession stand worker for our Parks Department. She's mainly a fill-in person. I'm asking for a motion to ratify her hiring, which was effective June 8th at $14 an hour as a 2022 concession stand worker.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are we almost there?
I'm thinking so.
Okay. I feel like if they're
Well,
coming
baseball's
in
done in 2 weeks, so.
Right. The only thing is they'll have concessions for the fall. They have adult kickball and stuff like that, I think, this fall. And so who knows? There may be a couple more here and there.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is to approve a memorandum of agreement for Brainerd Water Plant Relief Operator. Chris.
Sure. On May 2nd, the City Council approved the reinstatement of the Water Plant Relief Operator position with labor duties as requested by BPU. Just as a refresher, that position had been vacant for many years, and so it was not included in our wage grid in the current IBEW BPU contract. In discussing this with our consultant and legal counsel, it was recommended that the laborer portion not be in the title, as the individual is expected to be assigned at the water plant for at least 90% of the time, and only occasionally help as a laborer when time permits or when as needed. So then we began negotiations with the union for the new position. We basically called the wage to be the same as a water plant operator, since this new position is a relief operator. So we're asking for you to approve the attached memorandum of agreement between the City of Brainerd and the IBEW union for the water plant relief operator position, further to authorize staff to begin the hiring process for this position.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is to approve the hiring of Jessie Dean as the City Engineer Public Works Director.
Very happy to report that we had interviews for this position on June 22nd. Council members Johnson and O'Day, as well as Kevin Yeager and Jennifer and myself, did the interviews for that position. We met 2 days later just to finalize things, and we recommended the hiring of Jessie Dean as our City Engineer Public Works Director. He would be starting at step 2 of the wage grade, which is $48.40 per hour, and he is tentatively scheduled to start on August 1st, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just add, I'm really excited. We were worried. We've heard other cities were having problems finding city engineers, and we had a good slate of candidates, and I'm really excited about Jessie coming here. I think he'll really add a lot of value to the city.
He's right now from the city of Marshall.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to let you know is when I offered him the job, one thing he said is our performance-based pay is one of the reasons why he applied here. So I thought that was very interesting.
How about experience?
That's good to hear. So he's been the assistant city engineer in Marshall as his most recent job. But
He worked as an assistant county engineer or a county engineer for brief stints.
Okay.
So one thing we asked Paul was, will he have problems starting from an assistant going to a city engineer? And he doesn't have a whole lot of municipal experience. Paul said, I didn't have municipal experience before I started with Brainerd as the assistant engineer. He said he can learn that stuff. If he has got the good soft skills, we're going to be pretty lucky. One of the things they talked about is that he was employed for McDonald's for a while, and he went through their leadership program. Okay. And he really credits that program with being able to supervise employees and things like that. When I talked to the HR director from the city of Marshall, I know her quite well, she said he has the, how do I say this nicely, the most interesting employee to supervise, and he does a great job with him. So really excited for him. It is a big department, and with his supervisory skills, we think he's going to do a good job for us.
And the city of Marshall apparently is about the most comparable city to Brainerd that you can get in the state. About the same size, it's a county seat, kind of isolated from other cities and, you know, old historic downtown. And he provided a portfolio of some of the work they've done in some of the street projects in recent years, and what they're doing in their downtown is really cool stuff that
So
I would like to see.
as of August 1st, will Paul be completely done, or will he shadow this new guy?
No, so the contract with WSB goes to the end of August, and so we'll have Paul for another 30 days, and Paul's offered to kind of help Jessie, you know, bring him up to speed on all the projects that are going on, so it's just, I think, a win-win.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is to consider the approval of the revised employee policy manual.
So we met as a joint City Council BPU Commission work session last Monday. We went over quite a few of the changes at that time. I've included almost all of those changes in the memo to kind of give a brief synopsis of that discussion. One of the things that probably was the most discussed was the BPU department head performance reviews. And this was a recommendation from Jennifer and I. And when we look at the overall good for the city, we felt that those two department head positions should report to Jennifer or the city administrator, very similar to what our city engineer public work director does. He reports to the park board, but Jennifer does his reviews. So that was staff's information there. So we've made those changes in the employee policy manual. We have provided you both a clean copy and a red line copy, so that if you wanted to review any of the changes, you could go through them. Like we mentioned in the memo, we've been working on this for over 1.5 years as far as staff is concerned. We realize you've only seen it a couple times. One of the things we talked about last Monday was a work from home policy. And I asked our city attorney for a policy. I sent it out to a few of the department heads, and they had questions, and I'm going, it's better not to rush it, to try to get that work from home policy in there. So we sent it out without that, but we did put a placeholder in the employee policy manual saying this will be the section there. One of the things we talked about with our city attorney though is that you don't necessarily have to have the full language for the policy, for the work from home policy in the employee policy manual. We have our drug and alcohol policy and our safety manual. Those are separate policies from the employee policy manual. They were just referenced. So he has given me some draft language if you are interested in actually adopting the city or the employee policy manual tonight with what it would say. So basically it would be something to the effect the city has adopted a telecommuting remote work policy separate from the employee policy manual. The telecommuting remote work policy describes the situations in which qualifying employees may be allowed to work from home and the conditions on an opportunity to work from home afforded to any employee. Copies can be obtained from the Human Resources Department. So that is what we're planning on putting into the employee policy manual. With that said, there was also some additional discussion after the joint meeting. The BPU Commission did meet on Tuesday at their regular monthly meeting, and they did adopt a few motions. I did include the motions in the memo as well. Patrick is here from the BPU Commission. I'm not sure if he wants to speak to those motions or just see what their discussion is. I'm not sure.
I wanted to be able to respond to if there were any questions from the city council.
Chris?
So there was quite a bit of discussion at last Monday's meeting, pros and cons. Did that kind of get hashed over?
Yes, sir. And part of it was we had 2 commission members and our chair was not at that meeting that night. And so our chair asked that we make the recommendations. And so these are what we came up with. And we had hashed around one or then a second one. And before you know it, we had 3 and we said, let's share those. And we definitely want to work with the city council. And we are part of the city of Brainerd, and that's important for us to stress. And so we're hoping that you take our motions for what they're worth and consider them.
So the commission, from what I hear you say, Patrick, is pretty much on board with this?
With those 3 motions, yes, sir. Oh, yes.
Not with the employee policy manual, with the three motions. They want us to not do anything, give them all the power back, and stop asking questions about what happens at BPU.
If I can clear, that wasn't exactly, no, I mean, that wasn't at all.
That's what I've heard from the gentleman who didn't attend the meeting.
Correct. However, and I know he was gonna talk to Kelly or you, and so, but the fact is, we understand what's going on. We want to work with you. We want to make sure that the employees at BPU feel comfortable with what's going on. There seems to be, being the newest member, a little bit of uncomfortableness and saying, quoting our chairperson, does it have to be rushed through? Can we take it? We understand. It's clearly been a long time. However, we've only recently, as a board, seen the final language and hoping that we could have a little bit of time to work with this committee. We were suggesting that our personnel committee, being Dolly, Matt, and myself, work with the three of you or one or two of you and talk about some of the concerns we have and see if we can't just iron those out.
And is your concerns are only just whatever Todd and Scott are whining about, or are you actually concerned about the rank and file people doing the actual work? Because it seems that from this memo that it's just the concern is about the department heads.
I'm sorry it came through that way because that was not what it is. There clearly is rumblings from all the employees, and I'm hearing that all throughout from the BPU employees. And so, no, it's not just about what Todd and Scott's wants and needs are. It's about they're trying to represent their group and all of the employees.
All right, Tiffany, any questions?
Done?
Well, Tiffany, do you have any questions, Patrick, right now?
No.
Okay. Jennifer, if you have something to add.
One of the things that we heard from the joint meeting was about the performance evaluations, and Chris, I know you didn't talk about what language got put in or recommended language got put in the employee policy manual. I don't know if you wanted to.
So after the charter amendment is that personnel issues should now be addressed by the city council. Those issues really don't go back to the BPU commission anymore. So with that, there used to be a section in the employee policy manual that stated that BPU department heads review should be by the BPU commission. Part of the issue there is the commission has not been trained on the review forms. They are not using the same review forms that the rest of us are. So, and that was what they decided to do. So, when we look at the overall good for the city, we felt that for consistency purposes, all department heads should be treated the same. And because of that, all department heads should be reviewed by the city administrator so that they're done consistently and that they're all following the same process. We did include information, as far as a sample performance review feedback form that we could get from the BPU Commission, basically following our document to help the city administrator with those reviews, asking, do you think they meet expectations, or give us examples, give us feedback, help us learn. One of the things with, I believe as you know, when the city administrator has her performance review, you have to go into closed session, and then you have to go back, and then you have to do a summary. If the city administrator does the reviews, you don't have to have that. It is just done by the city administrator. The other thing is, if there would be employment issues, the city administrator could take charge of that situation. Otherwise, there could be a gray area. Does the commission actually need to do that? Or who needs to actually follow through if there's issues and how are they addressed?
Okay, well, I'd like to go through these three motions, Patrick, and just out of respect for you, if it were not you sitting here, I'd probably just be pushing forward to adopt this policy manual, to be quite honest, Patrick. So this first motion, to postpone, delay any action. What are we going to accomplish with further discussion? Or what does the commission think we can accomplish with further discussion?
Well, part of me being new, learning this performance measure system was adopted after I had any history with the city of Brainerd. And so I just learned about this and learned about the details that are required and trying to find out what we have been giving Todd and Scott for evaluations, working with the other personnel commissioner from BPU, and what we're sharing with the city council and trying to find out why we didn't adopt that. I don't have all those answers yet. And so I'm thinking it will help smooth the process. I don't think by any sense. We're not saying table it for 2 years from now. We're talking this year action. I would like to see something done so that you guys have a clear understanding where we're going, and it's gonna be done the same way the city council's doing it before the end of the year. I no question about that. I wanna make sure that we're on place and find out why we're not following the same procedures as the entire city. So I apologize for that, for being new and a little bit uninformed on that.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize for being new, Patrick.
But that's
I understand where
that's
you're
what,
coming from with
part of
that.
that, and then sharing that with you, and I think we can get all the employees on board, because I'm hearing rumblings that some of the other staff aren't happy. That's part of the job. I mean, we all understand that. You can't make everybody happy. Typically with any decision, you're gonna make 50% happy, 50% unhappy. But, sorry.
Then the second motion, do you want to talk to this first motion at length? Okay, the second motion
My
is,
comment will be for all three.
okay, having the city administrator co-conduct with the department heads with the BPU commission. That's essentially where we landed,
Yep.
more or less, after the workshop.
And we did talk about that and said that, but they wanted to reaffirm that we're still agreeing with that, not trying to throw that baby out with the bathwater kind of thing with this action.
Did that get added into the employee policy manual as it's being presented tonight?
It did not. So we did not reinstate that language as far as the BPU commission doing.
Well, I don't want to reinstate the old language. I want to codify something, whether it's the entire commission or the personnel committee with the, because
So-
they're working with the department heads day to day. So I think it is important that they're part of it. But I do think it's important that ultimately, since the city council is doing the hiring and firing, we need the city administrator in those.
Right. So what was added after the work session was language about a hiring committee, that it included BPU representative. So it is a work group with a BPU representative, very similar like we
Okay.
just did with the department head. That was the language that I added after the work group.
And the reason for this motion is you didn't think that went far enough?
We were adding it, because I understood the same way Chris did, the action the night before was for the hiring process, but they said it looks like it could work there, and why not have it a commissioner's eight? And I would actually say the chair of the board would be the one at least involved with the interview process. Just as, I mean, it's still the city administrator's taking people out of it, the city administrator's responsibility, but to have the BPU chairperson there at a minimum.
Yeah.
So that is for all hirings or disciplinary things for employees. So that is different than motion number 2, correct? Because motion number 2 specifically talks about co-conduct department head review.
That was the action, was to go conduct the evaluation.
Right, so I don't want there to be so are they trying to just reinstate language that it can be the PUC or the city administrator doing it?
No, sir.
No. You're including the city administrator for sure, who is the decision maker on these department heads' livelihoods.
I would say it's the city administrator and we are assisting.
Yeah.
So would assisting be completing that form and providing feedback to her?
Yes.
Or do you actually want them in the same room at the same time doing the view? I just want to make sure I'm totally clear on what was asked.
And that was part of what, we also said we didn't have the language, so it was a little bit, one of the things we'd like to see it in writing before we said, yeah. But the answer is, I think that could be, I apologize, you know me, I'm a little bit more flexible, allowing the administrator and the chairperson to work it out. Maybe they could do it independently and then meet together, but the review itself would be together for sure.
Right, and I think I like what you're describing right now, that it is the chair and the administrator. I think it would get a little complicated if there were 5 members of the commission and the one administrator, right? So if it's just 2 people, or 3 with the...
Well, no, I'm getting back to the point of avoiding the open meeting rules.
No, yeah.
So, not avoiding it, following it to a T, but following the specifics of only one commissioner doesn't make it an open meeting.
So I'm just thinking, is that a good idea, or is it better to get feedback from all 5? So that they would actually provide the form to the city administrator instead of just one person sitting in.
We had kicked that around at the meeting. We said, should it be all 5 getting into one? But we're talking about the fine details that we hadn't gotten into at the meeting. I apologize. So.
You could technically do the 5 separately, and then when you meet as a subcommittee, just have the results of those, and you wouldn't have to have a crowded room.
So, I think, and then the third motion is, yes, I think we should have subcommittee to attend for reviewing all hiring personnel for BPU. So I think maybe best action is to pump the brake tonight, and the staff has two recommended actions here. It's either adopt it tonight or postpone it so we can also include the telecommuting later on this summer. And I think we could work together with PUC, at least Patrick.
I see no issue with tapping the brakes for a while. I mean, I know it's been over a year, but they've got some legitimate concerns for not only their commission, but employees that are got their boots on the ground. So I think we tap the brake in good faith and see where we go.
I'd say to do motion number 2, postpone the item to the first meeting in August, which allows staff additional time to draft, and include the telecommuting work remote section, and also give the council more time to review recommended changes with the Public Utilities Commission.
And
So-
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
I appreciate you considering and being able to speak tonight.
All right. Hearing no other discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up, approve additional costs for cleanup day event.
So on April 4th, the council approved a concept for the citywide cleanup day for a budget of $4,500 to use dumpsters from Green Day Roll-Off and Landscaping. If you recall, this was a fundraiser for the Lakes Area Skate Park Association. I did include the proposal that was in the April 4th packet. The invoice from Green Day that was received by the city is in the amount of $8,775, so almost $4,300 over budget. The reason was everything came through as far as the proposal, as far as what staff knew, in that the association collected the charges that were needed and they paid Green Day directly. The proposal was for 3 20 cubic yard dumpsters and 4 30-yard dumpsters. They ended up billing us for 5 20-yard dumpsters and 9 30-yard dumpsters. So that's where the additional cost was. Staff has not approved this bill to be paid with tonight's bills because we just did not feel comfortable with it being $4,300 over budget, so we need direction from staff. Was this part of the cleanup cost? We had budgeted $4,500. We just now know better, or is there something else that council would like us to do?
Where would the extra money come from?
This would come from the special project budgeted line item for 2022. We budgeted $2,800 and so far $8,500 have been paid out of this line item. So the whole $8,700 basically, some change would also come out of that line item.
Well, we gotta pay it somehow. I mean, we can't just table it and not pay it.
Connie, when you say, so what I read is that they were needed and used, and then you said that we were billed for this. Were they used? Like, did we, as a city, generate this much that had to be carted off?
So I would assume that yes. I did hear that the Lakes Area Skate Park Association are the ones that ran it. In the proposal, people were supposed to show BPU in bills. I do not know if that was asked or not. Rumor is that it was not asked of all residents that went there. So that is another reason why we're bringing this to staff. Staff didn't run it, so it's all hearsay at this point. This is another reason why we brought it back to council.
Have we talked to the skate people?
I do not have a contact for them. This was done in conjunction with community action, I do believe, and Paul got the proposal. It was done in conjunction with community action as well.
Maybe we should reach out to somebody from that organization and just say, hey, we kind of got put back on our heels here with this large bill. What's the deal?
It was their fundraiser.
Yeah.
We should at least reach out.
If that is correct and they were all used, I guess, but if they're like, no, that wasn't what happened, I would like to know that.
Well, I don't think reaching out is a bad thing at all.
No.
We can cover our bases.
Especially knowing they're gonna come ask us for $500,000 in 2 years.
So when we reach out to them, contact them and say, we just want to know if all these dumpsters were used. Did you?
Actually, how well they did, ask them how well they did in the fundraiser. Like, hey, we're $4,000 over budget. How'd your fundraiser go? Can you help us out here?
Yeah.
No, I would just maybe open the door that we're a little disappointed and like, wait a minute here.
Yeah, I mean, from my opinion, I went back and looked at the motion and it wasn't a not to exceed, but from my opinion, it was. The intention of the council was, here's $4,500. Once it's gone, shut her down.
Yeah.
Not just
Keep
keep it going, unlimited budget for this event. So 4,500 is what the taxpayers are in on this, not 8,500 or
Well,
87.
double almost.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's good direction. I don't think we need a motion. You guys reach out, see if they can help us with that.
Yeah.
The mayor's got a contact.
Okay.
He probably filled 2 dumpsters up himself.
He brought a lot, he said.
I heard that several people used it. I just, so maybe it wasn't, it's kind of like when we've done citywide cleanups before, they've gone over budget. We've tried many different things over the years, and so.
Not really for right now, but
No, we
when
have
we
4
do
minutes.
this- Okay, when we do this again, maybe a history of what has been in the past.
Right, and there was, I
For
do
budget.
believe there was.
There was, and we'd never spent $8,000.
Yeah.
No.
We've spent over that a couple of years. When
Well,
we
the
did-
3-year included in the last one, we're not,
Yep.
over $8,000. Okay, next up is the resolution to set judges for, setting pay for election judges.
Okay, for 2020, we paid $15 for head judges and $12 for election and training judges. This matched Crow Wing County's. Crow Wing County does pay for mileage, they do not pay for meals. We give our judges an extra hour of pay for picking up supplies the day before election, and we have provided lunch and dinner at each precinct. In 2020, it was determined by council to use the same hourly rate as the county and to spend $500 per meals per election. The county told us they're gonna pay $15 for election judges and $20 for head judge. Again, the judges are reimbursed for mileage, no meals. It's very difficult, it's very long days for our election judges, and we don't have enough election judges to do shifts. So staff's recommendation would be to increase the election judge pay equal to Crow Wing County's rates and to review providing lunch and dinner on election day. Staff does not believe that $500 for lunch and dinner on election day for 2022 will be enough. And they give you a history of what we've spent on the last 2 elections, the last 2 years, where 2020 was a 3 election cycle, not just 2, because we had the presidential primary in there, where 2022 will just be the primary and the general election.
Okay, any discussion, with knowing we have 2 minutes left until the council meeting? I think we're looking for a motion to increase pay for precinct head and assistant head judges to $20 per hour, and election judges and training election judges to $15 an hour.
And then I think we should discuss meals as well.
But let's discuss meals in October. I suppose we have to do it in August.
August.
But let's not discuss it now, we have 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay,
Sounds good.
then I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to propose this resolution setting pay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We hear back anything on Lakes area?
No.
Gee, let me think.
There we go.
August.
Oh, we sent a letter to the board of directors. Maybe one of those guys has.
It's a spicy
ounce
letter.
of ethics.
First one,
We adjourned?